beauty is about what is inside. Listen, that's relevant for people, and that's very relevant for cars as well. As somebody who is not very well versed, I'm a first-time driver, you're not very well versed on cars, do not buy a car without a service history. Hi, wow, that was loud. My name is Kacha, as always, right? Thank you for stopping by my channel. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. It would make me really happy if you do. Okay, so today I want to talk about buying a car. Whew, a used car, trying to find a good, cheap, affordable used car as a single woman. Listen to me, it's rough out here. I have been trying to find a car. I'm trying to find an affordable car that I could just basically get comfortable with. I'm still quite young, so my insurance is expensive because apparently being young means you're reckless, but I'm an old woman at heart, so that is not applicable to me. But yeah, my insurance is quite expensive, so I thought I wanted to get a cheap car for that reason. And just finding, I know that there are options out there of cheap and affordable cars that are really good, so it's like finding those cars basically as a single woman who doesn't have any man, you know, around her to go and argue with dealerships. Yeah, that was really hard, especially as a first-time driver. I don't have a lot of experience with cars. I don't have a lot of experience with, I don't know a lot of people around here. So I was just like, God. So I have gone through that process twice in a space of 2 months, maybe 6 weeks. And I bought 2 different cars, and I feel like I've learned such a great deal. And so in this video, I'm going to be telling you about basically what I did when I bought the first car that basically ended up in the garage because that car was going to die on me at some point, right? And buying the second car that I have now that is so spotless that even when I took it to a service by Honda, which is the brand of the car, took it to their people to service the car, they were like, the car is perfectly fine, like the service came out perfectly clean. So if you're watching this video, I've assumed that you're looking for a car and you know the specs that you want. Make sure you know the specs of the car that you want. So do I want a 1.4 litre, do I want a 1.2 litre? Obviously the higher you go in the engine, the more fuel that you use, but the more power that you get out of the engine. So if you're going to be doing little bits of driving around town, you don't need anything massive. So make sure you know all those kind of things, like what are you bothered about mileage in terms of the mileage of the car. But I was looking for something actually within under 80,000. That was one of my criteria for looking at cars. I didn't want anything over that because I don't want stress, okay? So yeah, make sure you're comfortable with, when you go on Auto Trader, which is one of the biggest car search websites in the UK, check on there, like make sure you understand all of the things that it's telling you. Okay, the MPG, what does that mean? And do I care about the miles per gallon? Or I might not bother about how much fuel costs. I think that the miles per gallon is a very important one. The mileage is a very important one as well. The size of the engine is very important as well. So make sure you understand the specs of the car. Go on Google, go on the internet, and find the spec that you want, so that whenever you are searching for cars, you know this is exactly the criteria that I'm looking for. When you check for cars, make sure that you exclude on Auto Trader. These websites will give you the option to exclude anything that is Cat D, Cat C, all of those different categories. What that means is that it's had an accident that is considerable enough for the insurance to write it off. So sometimes it can just be like cosmetic issues, but then the insurance is like, the car's not worth it, so it gets written off. Sometimes it's not structural damage, but yet again, if you're a first-time driver, you're not that conversant with cars, you don't want that kind of smoke, you don't want that kind of stress, so just feel free to exclude those out. So whenever you're looking for cars, you're looking for things that are not insurance written off and are the right specs that you want. Now, the second thing is, you do not want to buy a car without a service history. I'm going to put this like a second thing because that is so important. Honestly, the first car that I got that ended up smoking, and the car was giving me so much issues, and it was going to give me so much more issues. I bought that car without a service history. Very, very stupid. Do not buy a car without a service history. And even with that service history, 2 things you want to make sure that it's full service history or it's consistent, because if the car has gone 4 years, no service, okay, maybe there was a service in 2012 and the next service was in 2016. What the hell happened between 2012 and 2016? So make sure the service is consistent. I think maybe things like once in 2 years is forgivable, but really it should be once a year. So if you have two cars and one of them has a service history every single year, one of them has every 2 years, you should definitely go for the one that has a service history every single year. It is so important. I cannot stress that enough. Second thing about that is, I guess I can kind of say that when you have a service that has been done by the manufacturer of the car, so mine is Honda, and so when you look at the service history, you will see Honda in the service. They tend to do a little bit more. It tends to be a bit more expensive, but I think that kind of tells as well that the person who's had the car looks after the car, so that's very important. When you look at the service history as well, look at any recommendation. So the service is going to say, oh, I've checked this is wrong. Look at recommendations, look for if the person has actually repaired the issues that they said was wrong with it, and look for receipts. Yeah, you have to check for the receipts, very important. So yeah, that's what I would say about service history. I just make sure that the cars always have that. So I found some cases actually where the car maybe has it's like a 12-year-old car, but it's only had a 7-year service history. I'm like, if other things are perfect, then I'll take it, but I'd rather not. So make sure that the service history is on point. Another thing is MOT history. So this is because this is by the law, right? By the law, every car has to have MOT done every single year. So if it fails MOT, that car cannot be driven on the road. So everybody needs to get it, and they need to make sure that it's done and the car passes. I know that some dealerships are a bit cheeky. They will take it to their brother who has a mechanic just by some reason and can do MOTs. And I know that I've heard some things about MOTs passing where, so it's a little bit, that's why the service is even, you know, it's like a confirmation of the MOT. But when you look at the MOT, you don't just look, oh, it has MOT and it's failed and it's passed. Make sure you look at what happened in the MOT when third year was bought. Look through the MOT and make sure that it doesn't have too many advisories. So I'll give you an example. This car that I bought right now is a Honda Jazz 2007, and I was looking at also another Honda Jazz 2009. The 2009 Honda Jazz, which is a newer version, was more expensive than this one. Why did I not go for that one? Because I looked at this, even before going out to look at the car, I looked at the MOT history of the newer car online. The MOT for this one was perfectly clean. Perfectly clean. Like, I was just like, is it possible to have a car this clean? Like, what? Whereas the one for 2009, even though it was cheaper, it was a newer car than this one, same exact model, it had a lot of issues with the MOT. They were most of them were like minor stuff, but like I'm like, how do you have such a long, I'm looking at the MOT, it's like such a long list of things that are slightly wrong. So I was just like, if I'd got that car that was 2009, I probably would have had a little bit more issues with it. And I know that when I'm taking it for service, like I did for this one, that service would definitely have not come out clean since it had so many issues on the MOT. So you've checked your service history. Actually, you've checked the spec of your car, you're happy. You checked your service history, it has service history, full service history, all of that, you're happy. You checked the MOT history, nothing looks alarming. You're liking how the car looks, it's one of your top choices, and maybe a Japanese car, a German car, or whatever. And then you're like, okay, time to go and see the car. When you do go and see the car, check as many things as you possibly can. Don't be intimidated. Tell the guy or the woman, whoever is in the dealership, chill, relax, give me a moment, okay? I'm gonna sit here and go through the car, go through as many things as possible. Like, for example, there was a car that I found, a Skoda Fabia, one of the good ones that gets recommended, and the Skoda Fabia was perfect. Everything was fine. Everything, the service history was impeccable, like it was amazing. And then I was looking around the car and I was just like, oh, the window the front window doesn't wind down. Why doesn't it wind down? Like, what's going on? And so that was the reason why I didn't buy that car, because I was just like, I mean, that's one of the first things that you check. Do you get what I mean? Like, if you open the car, you click on that button. Maybe it happened, maybe after they service the car, whatever. But yeah, just if I hadn't checked that, I didn't need to wind that down. I just checked it just to make sure that it works. So check absolutely everything. Things that you think of you in the car. What do you use day to day? You use your horn, you use the wipers, you use your the boot. Make sure the boot is nice and everything opens. Just maybe turn on the heating first, see that the car heats up, and then turn on the AC, see that it's cooled that down, because it was hot and now it should be cold, and make sure that the AC isn't just blowing air, but it's actually blowing cold air. So check all these things. You can open the engine as well, the front of the engine. Make sure that the oil, I think there's something about how the oil shouldn't be too dark or burnt or whatever. check those things. Check the lights, for example. So turn on maybe the hazard sign, or walk around the car and make sure that you can see all the lights are coming on. So be comfortable. Just Google these things. If you need to have a list, have a list. Like, there's nothing that you're doing that any other guy wouldn't do. So just be comfortable and check all those things. I know that I always felt like, oh, and it was always guys there who were selling the car. They're like, oh yeah, the car's fine, the car's fine, the car's fine. And they make you feel small for trying to just check your car. And I feel like, I don't know if they just do that to just women, but yeah, I felt that a lot when I was looking at cars, and they were just like, oh, like, why are you doing too much? But it's your money, so make sure you check all those things out. And then, yeah, make your decision. I feel like you can never I don't know, like, I feel like at some point you have to commit to something, because eventually, like, for example, the car that I bought, the Mini that I bought, that ended up like falling to bits, I tested it, and I remember even someone helped me like test drive the car, and they were like, oh yeah, the car felt fine. This is someone who's been driving for a really long time. So you can never know. So just do the due diligence and do all these things that I've mentioned, and if all these things check out, then you can go ahead and buy the car. Now we're going to step into buying a car from a dealership. One of the benefits is that you tend to have a warranty, so make sure you have, even if it's 1 month, make sure you have a warranty if you're buying from a dealership. If you're buying from a private seller and everything else is spotless and perfect, then you can take that jump. For me, because I was like, I need something to fall back on just in case it doesn't go as planned, then I decided that I wanted to buy from a dealership, and I wasn't really looking at private sales because it was a little bit out of my comfort zone, not gonna lie. So, but if it's within your comfort zone, then that's fine. So the bit that I'm going to get into now is what then happens when you buy the car from a dealership. Now, you have a 1 month warranty, and I highly seriously recommend taking your car to get a service done, or taking it to somebody else to have a look at it, because that's what I've been doing. So the first car that I got, I wanted to get a service done on it. The car, oh Jesus, that car, the Mini, gave me so many issues. The engine light came on. I had to drive down to Wembley, which is where I got the car, drive down to Wembley so many different times. Bless them, they did look at the issues, but then it just kept coming back. And then eventually I started seeing that the car was smoking. Now, this is why it's important to have someone else look at it. The car wasn't smoking when I bought that car, but then maybe like 2 days after I said I'd driven the car like motorway, like, because I said I'd do 50 miles every day, so maybe at least 2 days of those, like maybe 100 miles, I started noticing that when I was like reversing, the car was smoking, and I didn't take it seriously. You know, those times that I was taking the car back to Wembley or to the dealership to look at the other things that were happening to the car, I didn't take it seriously because I didn't trust myself. However, because I wanted to go and get the car serviced, I took it to someone who lives nearby, like a garage, because I got a recommendation for like a good garage. Took it there, and the garage, the mechanic was like, nah, that doesn't look right, that don't look right, like your car should not be smoking like that. And this dealership were telling me all these fantastic stories about how it needs to come out of the system. There is no reason why smoke should be coming out of the exhaust of the car. There's literally no fantastic reason why blue smoke in particular is coming out of the car. So that's what I really definitely recommend. They will say, oh yeah, we serviced the car, but their service, like I said, could be their cousin, it could be their brother. So take it to somebody else who has nothing to gain from, you know, me saying that the car is okay. So they'll then tell you, yes, there's an issue here, and if hopefully, like the new car that I have now, there was no issue, then I'm never going to see the guys that I bought the car from again, because I'm like, our business is done, you sold me a good car. But if you've bought the car, you take it to a service person, and they're like, oh, this and this are wrong. There could be minor issues, they're like, oh, I'll overlook that and fix that. But if it's showing signs of like big issues, you should definitely take it back to the dealer. Strong your heart, really, like put your foot in the ground and say, hey, there's something wrong here and you need to fix it. If you can't fix it, give me my money back. So yeah, hopefully this has helped you. I had so many issues, like it's such a man's world when it comes to buying cars. Like I definitely had so many people tell me, oh, even when I was driving, like, oh, why don't you get your dad to take you driving? I'm just like, you don't know me, you don't know my situation, you don't be saying that. So yeah, like it's definitely a man's world, but I feel like we can do it. Like now, like if I want to buy a used car again, I know what I need to be looking out for. Like even if hopefully my next car might be expensive than what I have now, might not, but when I buy another car, like I know I'm a lot more confident, and hopefully these tips can help you be more confident as well. So yeah, just don't be scared. You can definitely do it. Stand your ground, do your research on the car, stand your ground if eventually something does go wrong with the dealership, and yeah, you should get your money back, because they don't want a bad review if you don't. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully that has helped you, and yeah, please subscribe. It will make me very happy. Subscribe, share, like it, all of that jazz, and have a lovely day. Bye.